What's happening, guys? Welcome back to another video, and today we are talking about reviews because it's been a wild week. Star Wars Outlaws dropped last week and reviews dropped on August the 26th, a couple of days ahead of the game coming out, and it landed a 77 on Metacritic and OpenCritic, which is exactly where I think a lot of people probably expected it to be, but the reviews were all over the place. I've seen them as low as a 2 out of 5 and as high as a 10 out of 10, which it is not a perfect game. Ubisoft sent me a code early to go hands-on with the game for review, and I played it, finished the campaign, did some side missions, and ended up saying it was a good game but not a great game, and giving it a 7.5 out of 10. And if you want to get the full rundown on my thoughts with the game, you can head over and check out my full review. But I thought a 7.5 was a pretty mild review, and I was very wrong. The short review I put out on TikTok and YouTube got about 250,000 views and hundreds of comments of people accusing me of being paid off to give a good review. Again, paid to give a 7.5. Number one, I would never do any kind of paid review, and anyone with any ounce of integrity online wouldn't either. And number two, it is a 7.5. Use some critical thinking skills. But beyond those comments, tons of people also tossed in their 2 cents, saying it's a 5 out of 10 at best, and a lot of people said that it should be even lower than that. But based on Metacritic and OpenCritic, I thought that I was right on the money. I mean, a 7.5 is literally a 75 out of 100, which is 2 points lower than the 77 that the aggregate score got. So I wanted to figure out what was happening here. Am I the problem? Are reviews broken? And if reviews are broken, how do we fix them? Love them or hate them, IGN is an outlet people turn to when it comes to seeing the newest reviews for new games. And while the public perception is that they give a lot of 7s or even skew slightly higher, they've got a review scoring system to explain the method behind their madness. Obviously, a 10 out of 10 or a 5 out of 5 is going to mark a masterpiece generally no matter where you look at the big outlets, and a 9 out of 10 isn't really going to have much of a variance there either. Those are the games that you know are going to be worth your time. But then things start to shift when you get down into the 8 and below range, where IGN designates an 8 as being great and a 7 as being good, which is where things start to get weird, because you'd assume that describing a game as good would be middle of the road. At least that's what I think, and on a scale of 1 to 10, that would be by definition a 5. But calling a game a 5 out of 10 in no way tells me it's good. In fact, a 5 out of 10 is an entirely skippable experience in my mind, or what IGN would describe in their scale as mediocre. But let's shift over to a 5-point scale, like what they've got at VGC, which is another fantastic outlet if you're looking for some great coverage on gaming news. For them, a 3 out of 5 or a 6 out of 10 if you want to scale that up is also good, while a 2 out of 5 is below par and a 1 is an avoid. But even after looking at both of these setups, I'm still not satisfied, so I turned to people on threads. What's the best way to do reviews? I wrote up this long post explaining the situation and ultimately asking the question, are reviews broken? And I got a ton of answers. Shout out to Jess Gordon for confirming that I am not crazy. Someone called out that it does feel like reviewers have settled on 7 indicating good, not great, and that's just become the norm over the years, which I would agree with. But on the flip side, a few people called out that it could go all the way back to the American education system. And no, I'm not saying people are dumb. We literally operate on a scale where anything below a 70 is a failure, because that was ingrained in us from a very young age. And when we are thinking about a game that is good or fine, giving anything below what we would consider a passing grade just doesn't really feel right. Unless you're outside of the US, where the bare minimum passing grade is a 50. And with that mindset, a 70 feels like you're skewing way higher than what would be considered a good passing grade. But beyond that, a couple of people called out that a lot of independent reviewers are just transitioning away from the numbered review system entirely. Instead of giving a game a 5 or a 7 or a 9 or a 10, they're ranking it on a bypass or wait for sale kind of mindset. And then there are some outlets out there that have gotten out of the numbered game too. But that could come at a cost. Whether we like to admit it or not, numbered reviews are an easy way to quickly understand the general vibe around a game. If something has a 50 on Metacritic, you know what to expect. If it has a 90 on Metacritic, you also know what to expect. And all of these numbers come from the individual numbered scores that outlets choose to give. Now, the argument can totally be made that without a number, people are then forced to read an entire review and come to their own conclusion. And come on, you think the average people are going to read all that? In the year of our Lord 2024, and I'm not talking about you, you're watching a video about video game reviews. You're going to read them. The general public will not. But beyond all of that, the way that people think about reviews has changed a ton through the years, because when I was a kid, a gaming magazine's ratings or the final word from G4 defined what I would consider a good game when I'm making up my Christmas list, which is not the best way to do things, because then the opinions of a handful define the conversation and thought around a game. And that's where some of the trust issues, I think, start, because a very hardcore vocal group of people online just don't trust game reviews. And that could be because codes are given out for a review, which is how it's always been done, the fake narrative that good reviews are bought and paid for by publishers, or people have been burned by buying a game that has an 8 or a 9, but that they ultimately feel is a 5 or below. And beyond that, I think a lot of the time people just want to hear other people echo what they already want to hear, or even what they already believe, because of how segmented we've become online. But that's a topic for the next therapy session. The good news and the bad news is that now we've totally boomeranged in the other direction, where anyone with an internet connection can share their thoughts on a game. Whether that's someone with a YouTube channel like me, a Twitch streamer sharing thoughts live, a reviewer with a blog on Medium, or even just somebody leaving a comment on an Instagram post. Everyone is a reviewer now, and that's brought some benefits. You've got more opinions flying around that can help inform public conversation and share thoughts from people that have put way more time into the game than a reviewer typically would. And then you've got Steam reviews, which should hypothetically be the most accurate and reliable way to assess if a game is good or not. People that have actually played the game are sharing reviews with their thoughts that also show how many hours they put into the game when they review it. But then you've got the external factors that affect how those pan out too. And I'm not trying to get into the controversies around review bombing, but no matter how you cut it or what the purpose is, review bombing a game doesn't reflect a direct assessment of the experience that game provides. Most of the time. And again, you've got specific situations, but things get weird when it comes to review bombs. All of this is to say that reviews are fundamentally broken, because they are subjective. There is no such thing as the right review on a game or the correct Metacritic score for a game, because every review is literally someone's assessment of something. And that doesn't just apply to games. Taco Bell is a 10 every day of the week for me, even though every menu item is made of the same 5 ingredients. To some people, it's a 2. To me, it's perfect. So what do we do with this information? Where do we go from here? And I honestly think the best approach is the one that a lot of people have already been doing for a while. Find creators or critics or whatever mix of those that have a taste that's similar to yours and see what they have to say about a game. If I'm going online looking for a Star Wars Outlaws review from somebody who has 5,000 hours in Civ 6, their opinion on the game probably isn't going to align with my opinion on the game. But if I tune into somebody who plays the games that I play and that I've agreed with in the past, I can at least start shaping my perception of a game around something that's more based on a relatable opinion, instead of doom scrolling the most positive or negative reactions that are dominating the social conversation. Because that's how those feeds work. Ultimately, I'm just venting right now, and I wish there was a way to give an objective, unbiased score for a game, showing how good it really is. But that number literally doesn't exist. OpenCritic and Metacritic get close to doing it, but reviews are ultimately subjective. They are the opinions of people on the internet, and there's no number that's going to be a direct assessment of how good something actually is, no matter how much we wish we could rely on review scores. I would love to hear what you think though, because as the channel grows, I know there are going to be more reviews coming down the pike, and some of those are actually already in the development pipeline right now. So I would love to hear your suggestions on the best way to approach this. Who does reviews right? And is there a way overall for people to do them better? I would love to know your thoughts. And as always, if you made it all the way to the end of this video and you're new here, you like what you see and what you hear, hit that subscribe button for videos like this every week and gaming news shorts throughout the week to keep you in the loop, and of course the occasional review tossed in there as well. But thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.